The Galactic Council chamber was never silent. Even on calm days, the giant hall buzzed with the voices of dozens of species, their languages overlapping in a storm of sound. Today was no different. Alien leaders argued over trade disputes, border controls, and the usual questions of power. Then, the alarms began. A low hum shook the chamber walls, followed by sharp warning tones that echoed through the air like sirens. The lights flickered. Every delegate froze. For the first time in years, the entire council went silent. "What is that?" croaked Councillor Vex of the Ralkir, his scaled hand gripping the edge of the table. His eyes flicked toward the hovering security drones that swarmed in confusion. "It's the orbital perimeter," shouted another voice. "Something has crossed into restricted space." At once, screens unfolded around the chamber, showing the view above the station. Stars glimmered in the blackness, the wide curve of the council station lit with its defense grids. But nothing else. The alarms kept howling. Delegates shifted in their seats. Some hissed in panic. Others muttered in their own languages. Sensors were screaming about a colossal mass in orbit, something bigger than any warship ever recorded. But there was nothing visible on the screens. "It's a ghost reading," insisted Admiral Koras of the Vaer Dominion, his 4 eyes scanning the displays. "A glitch. Nothing can be that size without being seen." But the instruments did not lie. Gravitational scans, thermal sensors, radiation detectors, all confirmed it. A massive shape hung over the station, its presence bending the stars. Behind it, "No shields can hide gravity," whispered Councillor Luthen of the Osara Union, her feathered head tilting low. "Whatever it is real." Fear spread through the chamber like fire. Council guards rushed their posts. Defense fleets in orbit scrambled into formation. Yet even with hundreds of ships moving into position, nothing appeared on the screens. They could not see what they were aiming at. "This is impossible," muttered Admiral Koras, his voice less certain now. "No technology in the galaxy can cloak something this size." Delegates argued in chaos. "A phantom weapon?" shouted one. "A hidden moon?" barked another. "Or worse," hissed Councillor Vex. His voice dropped low, but the silence of the chamber carried it far. "A human ship." The words froze the room. Humans. The council had not spoken of them openly for years. Humanity was a small power compared to the great empires. Their fleets were limited, their colonies few. But they had a reputation, stubborn, unpredictable, and secretive. Every war they had fought ended in ways no one could explain. And though the council mocked them in public, whispers of hidden human projects had always lingered. "No," Admiral Koras snapped. "Humans lacked the resources. They could not build this." Could they not? Councillor Vex leaned forward, his scaled mouth curling into something like fear. "Have you ever wondered why they never beg for protection? Why they never ask? For seats of power here? They have been hiding something." The debate grew louder. Panic pushed against order. Some demanded fleets attack immediately. Others warned that firing blind at something unseen was suicide. Then the alarms changed. A new signal pulsed through the chamber, not from the station, but from the object itself. A transmission. Every screen in the chamber flickered, showing static. Then words appeared, not alien script, not some machine code, but simple blocky letters in Galactic Standard. "We are watching." The words burned across every display. Delegates gasped. Some shouted in rage. Others sat in stunned silence. Even Admiral Koras said nothing. The chamber shook as if the very station felt the presence above it. For a long moment, no one moved. The words remained, glowing like fire. Then, slowly, this message faded. The alarms went quiet. The screens with black dot silence filled the chamber again. But it was not the usual silence of debate. It was the silence of fear. Counselor Luthen whispered what many were now thinking. If that is human, the balance of the galaxy has changed. Above them, invisible and unstoppable, the human dreadnought waited. The council chamber remained, heavy with silence, long after the words vanished from the screens. No one dared speak first. Dozens of alien leaders sat frozen, their eyes darting toward the ceiling as if they might pierce the invisible shadow above them. At last, Admiral Chorus slammed his hand against the table. This is a bluff, a trick of light and gravity. Nothing more. His voice carried strength, but his eyes betrayed doubt. Counselor Vex of the Raw Kier leaned forward, his scaled claws tapping against the stone. A bluff? Did you not see the message? Did you not feel the weight pressing above us? The humans warned us. They are watching. The chamber erupted in noise again. Voices overlapped, some filled with panic, some with anger. They cannot do this, shouted a delegate from the Seraph worlds, her crystal-like skin flickering with fear. If the humans truly possess such a weapon, the balance of power is broken. Or perhaps it was never balanced, Counselor Luthen whispered. The Osari's feathers shivered as she spoke. Perhaps we were children, blind to what stalked us in the dark. The suggestion chilled the hall. For centuries, the Galactic Council had believed itself the heart of civilization, the strongest force in the galaxy. But if humans had hidden a weapon beyond comprehension, then perhaps the Council was nothing more than prey. Admiral Chorus straightened his posture. I will not be frightened by shadows. We must send our fleets. Force this dreadnought to reveal itself. If humans dare threaten us, let them face the full strength of the Council. The words sparked fierce debate. Some delegates nodded, eager to show strength. Others hissed warnings of caution. To attack blindly was madness. What if every ship sent was simply swallowed by the unseen giant above them? Through it all, Counselor Vex stayed quiet. His eyes were not on the other delegates, but on the shadows flickering at the edges of the chamber. He felt something deeper. Not just fear of the dreadnought, but a realization gnawing at his mind. Humans had always been underestimated. When they first joined the interstellar community, they were weak, scattered, and ignored. The Council gave them no power, no influence. Yet in every war since, humans had surprised them, striking with odd tactics, winning impossible battles, surviving what no other species could. What if those victories were not luck? What if all along they had been testing pieces of something greater? The thought made his scales crawl. Suddenly, the chamber's lights dimmed again. Gasps rippled through the Council. On every wall, faint words appeared, glowing like fire. Not on screens this time, but directly across the surfaces of the chamber itself. Do not interfere. A murmur of horror swept the room. This was no broadcast they could jam, no code they could trace. The message was etched into the very systems of the station, like a ghost reaching through metal and wire. Counselor Luthen's feathers puffed in terror. They are inside our networks, inside our walls. Admiral Chorus slammed his fist again. This cannot stand. If we bow to threats, the Council is finished. But the sharpness of his words no longer carried power. Even he could see the fear. In the room, Counselor Vex rose slowly. His voice was calm yet heavy. Listen to the silence outside. Do you hear it? No ships attacking, no beams fired. They do not need to strike us. Their message alone is enough. Humans are telling us that if we move against them, they will end us without a war. Whispers spread through the chamber. Delegates leaned to one another, speaking in hushed tones. The panic now turned into something worse, suspicion. What if the humans have more of these dreadnoughts? What if they are already above our homeworlds? What if we were never safe? The chamber filled with these questions, each one sharper than the last. No answers came. And then, the stars outside shifted. For the first time, a shadow moved across the viewing screens. Not a clear outline, but a ripple, a faint distortion bending the starlight. Massive, silent, invisible, yet undeniable. Gasps broke out. One delegate screamed. The Dreadnought was leaving. Slowly, it drifted out of orbit, its vast invisible bulk tugging at the station's gravity. Not a single weapon fired. Not a single ship dared to follow Dot. It slipped into the dark, leaving only silence and dread in its wake. Yet Counselor Vex whispered the thought no one else dared to voice. If this was only one ship, then how many more are waiting? The question hung in the chamber like smoke, twisting in every mind. And though the shadow was gone, the fear remained. For the first time in galactic history, the Council knew what it was like to feel powerless, and all because of the humans. The Galactic Council chamber was nearly empty now. Only a handful of leaders remained, their voices low, their faces pale. The Dreadnought had vanished into the dark hours ago, yet its shadow still weighed on them like a mountain. Counselor Vex stood alone at the wide viewing window, staring at the stars. He did not speak, but his mind churned with questions. Every instinct told him the humans had not shown their full strength. That ship, that invisible Dreadnought, was only the beginning. Behind him, Admiral Chorus paced angrily. "Cowards," he muttered. The delegates scatter like frightened children. One ship, one shadow, and the Council breaks apart. Counselor Luthen's feathers shifted uneasily. It was not just a shadow, Admiral. It was a warning. A message carved into our station. If humans can enter our system so easily, then our fleets are useless. Chorus turned sharply. No, we will not kneel to them. Somewhere there must be answers. Somewhere in their history, a weakness. I will find it. Vex's eyes narrowed. He too had been thinking of history, of the odd forgotten wars humans had fought, the strange victories. That never made sense. Perhaps the answers were buried there. He finally spoke. "Admiral, if you want to learn about humans, do not look at their fleets. Look at their records, their archives. They hide their power not in ships, but in silence." The Admiral scoffed. But Luthen leaned closer. "You mean their restricted files? The ones they never shared with the Council?" Vex nodded. "Yes, the human archives on Mars. I have heard whispers, files marked with the symbol of the Black Sun, records of battles, erased from our own history banks. If we want to know what stalks us above the stars, we must see what they tried to bury." The three exchanged a glance. It was dangerous. Breaking into a member species' hidden records was a crime that could spark war. But after what they had seen, war already seemed certain. That night, they gathered in a sealed chamber deep within the station. Only a small circle of trusted aides joined them. The air was thick with secrecy. Luthen spread her wings slightly, activating the cloaked console. This system links to the oldest Council surveillance networks. If humans ever fought battles we did not witness, fragments might remain here. Her feathers glowed with faint blue light as she worked. Lines of code streamed across the walls. At first, there was nothing. Then fragments appeared. Battle logs, scattered images, faded transmissions. The first image froze the room. A fleet of alien ships, not Council ships, but war vessels of the old Krith Dominion, burning in silence. Dozens destroyed, their hulls sliced apart by weapons no one could identify. And among the wreckage, a shadow, a distortion in the stars, faint but massive. Vex whispered, "The same signature, the same invisible shape." More files followed. The Asari Rebellion, 2 centuries ago, suppressed not by the Council, as history claimed, but by a single human warship that no records admitted existed. The Velar War, ships vanishing into darkness, their distress signals cut mid-scream. Each file showed the same anomaly. Each time, humans erased the evidence. Chorus's face darkened. This cannot be true. The council would have known. We would have seen. Luthen cut him off, her voice sharp. Would we? Or did the humans bury the truth before it ever reached us? The silence was suffocating. One by one, the delegates realized what it meant. The Dreadnought was not new. It had always been there, hiding, waiting, watching. Vex's claws tapped against the console. Do you see now? We thought humanity was weak. We believed they were small, but they were testing us, testing all of us. Each war was not for survival, but for silence, for secrecy. And we let them hide it. For the first time, Admiral Koraz looked shaken, his pride cracked like thin glass. If they could do this for centuries, then how many ships have they built? How many shadows are out there? No one answered. Suddenly, the console flickered. Every file, every record, every stolen image began to erase itself, one by one. Panic filled the chamber. Someone is inside the system. Luthen cried, her feathers flaring. They are deleting everything. Vex slammed his claws on the console. No, they are not deleting. They are watching us. They know we looked. The final image froze for only a second before vanishing. A human face, pale and unreadable, staring back at them through the console. No words, no sound. Just eyes filled with warning. Then the screen went black. The chamber fell silent. No one moved. Finally, Vex spoke in a whisper. We thought we discovered their secret, but perhaps they allowed us to see just enough. The others did not reply. The fear was too thick, pressing down on their chests like the weight of the invisible Dreadnought itself. And far above the station, in the endless dark, something stirred. The chamber was still heavy with silence. The last image of the human face haunted every delegate. Even hours later, Counselor Vex could not shake the memory. Those eyes, calm, steady, unafraid, felt more dangerous than any weapon. Admiral Koraz broke the silence first. He slammed, his hand against the table, his voice echoing. Enough waiting. Enough shadows. If humans are hiding fleets, we will find them. If they watch us, we will watch them. This is war already. They just have not declared it. Counselor Luthen spread her wings uneasily. War? Admiral, we cannot even see their ships. We cannot track their movements. You saw it yourself. They let us glimpse those files only to remind us they are always ahead. Do you want to throw our fleets into the dark against enemies we cannot detect? Her words stirred murmurs. Some nodded, others hissed in anger. The chamber had no unity left, only fear and pride. Vex raised a claw to quiet them. His voice was low, controlled. Listen. Humans wanted us to see their shadow. They wanted us to panic. That means they are playing a game. And in games, every move has a reason. Koraz glared. So what do you propose? Sit and wait for them to strike? Beg them for mercy? No, Vex said sharply. We probe, quietly, not with fleets, with spies, with whispers. If they have built a hidden empire, then somewhere, there will be cracks. A trail, a secret base. We only need one opening. Luthen tilted her head. You mean infiltration? Yes, Vex said. Humans are watching, but they cannot watch everywhere at once. We send envoys, disguised as merchants, scholars, wanderers. Let them walk on Earth. Let them walk on Mars. Somewhere, they will stumble upon the truth. The chamber grew still. It was a dangerous plan, but also the only plan that did not involve blind war. Slowly, the delegates nodded. Even Koraz, though his jaw was clenched tight. Within hours, the orders were given. Quiet ships departed the station. carrying agents swarmed to secrecy. No reports, no signals, until they uncovered something solid. Weeks passed. From the shadows of Earth's orbit, small cloaked pods drifted down into the atmosphere, disguised as meteor fragments. Agents spread out in human cities, hiding behind false names. Others infiltrated colonies on Mars, Titan, and Europa, pretending to be traders or scholars. At first, they saw nothing unusual. Earth seemed ordinary. Humans laughed in crowded markets, worked in factories, argued in council halls. There were no signs of hidden fleets, no whispers of dreadnoughts. But slowly, cracks appeared. On Mars, one agent noticed restricted zones carved deep into the red canyons, guarded by soldiers, who carried weapons unlike anything in council. Records. On Europa, another heard rumors of the deep vaults, places where even human civilians were forbidden. And on Earth itself, strange signals pulsed through the air, too regular to be noise, too hidden to be ordinary communication. Codes buried inside weather data, echoes hidden in music broadcasts. The agents sent fragments of these findings back to the council. Piece by piece, a picture began to form. Vex stared at the reports in the dark chamber. His claws tapped slowly against the table. They are building something vast, not on the surface, but beneath. Beneath their oceans, their ice, their soil. A network. A fortress spread across every world they touch. Luthen whispered, "A silent empire." Korras growled, his eyes burning. "Then we strike, now, before it grows stronger." But before Vex could answer, the chamber lights flickered. Every console, every display froze. And then words appeared. Across every screen. "You are searching in the wrong places." The chamber froze. Vex's heart pounded. This was no intercepted message. The humans were inside their systems again, inside the council's own core. The words vanished. For a moment there was nothing. Then new lines appeared, slower this time, almost like a whisper. "We let you look. We let you send spies. Do you wonder why?" The delegates exchanged fearful glances. Their agents were still on Earth, still moving through human cities. Were they being watched this whole time? More words appeared. "Leave them." Or "watch them." "Disappear." And then the screens went dark. No one spoke. Even Admiral Korras's anger seemed to have drained away. He sat stiff, fists clenched, his pride shattered. Luthen's feathers trembled. They knew, from the beginning. Every spy, every signal, every step. They let us play while they watched. Vex's voice was almost a whisper. "No, not watched, tested, just like before. They wanted to see what we would do, how far we would go." The realization struck them all at once. The humans were not afraid of discovery. They invited it. Every glimpse, every clue was deliberate. A controlled game. Korras stood suddenly, his voice hoarse but firm. "Then what do we do? Sit like prey while they circle us?" Vex turned toward the window, gazing at the endless stars. His eyes were cold, calculating. "No, we learn. We do not fig." The agent called himself Keller on Earth. In truth, he was born of the Threx Dominion, a species known for patience and long memory. His scaled skin was hidden beneath layers of synthetic flesh, his eyes disguised by lenses that turned his reptilian glare into something almost human. For weeks, Keller lived among humans in the bustling city of New Avalon on Mars. He drank in their markets, walked their crowded streets, listened to their endless chatter. At first, he saw nothing unusual. Humans argued about politics, joked with neighbors, celebrated festivals with strange dances. They seemed so ordinary, so vulnerable. But Keller had not survived as a spy by trusting first impressions. He watched closely. He noticed how the soldiers in New Avalon carried themselves with strange discipline. their uniforms simple, but their weapons unfamiliar. He noticed the way certain districts of the city were sealed off, guarded not by military checkpoints, but by what looked like civilian workers, smiling, polite, but always standing exactly where they needed to block unwanted eyes. Something lay beneath the city. One night, Keller followed a supply convoy. The vehicles rolled silently, carrying large sealed crates marked with meaningless human symbols. Instead of heading toward the surface mines, they descended into a tunnel at the edge of the city, a tunnel officially marked as under repair. Keller followed, cloaked in his species' advanced stealth gear. Down the spiraling tunnels he crept, deeper and deeper into Mars. Hours passed. The air grew colder, the silence heavier. Then, at last, the convoy stopped. Keller froze. Before him stretched a cavern so vast it seemed impossible. It was not natural. It was carved. Gigantic support beams lined the walls, glowing with energy fields. And in the center, Keller's heart pounded. There, hidden beneath the Martian crust, hung the hulks of ships, not merchant craft, not transports. These were dreadnoughts, black, angular, immense, the very same design whispered in council reports. Each one was larger than any vessel Threx had ever built. Their hulls bristled with weapon mounts, their engines thrummed with silent power. They were not idle. Humans swarmed across them like ants, welding, building, feeding energy into their cores. Entire cities seemed dedicated to this construction yard, hidden under the soil of Mars. Keller's breath caught. He had found it. Proof of the hidden fleet. But then he saw something else. The nearest dreadnought bore markings etched into its hull. At first he thought it was decoration, but then he recognized the human symbols. A single word repeated across multiple ships. Earthborn. Keller's skin chilled beneath his disguise. The name matched the phantom warship that had haunted council reports months ago. One ship could be dismissed as rumor, but here he saw dozens, hundreds, an entire fleet being forged in secret. He activated his recorder, capturing everything. His mission was complete. The council would see this, and the galaxy would finally know the truth. But then a voice spoke behind him. "You've seen enough." Keller spun. A human stood there, tall, calm, dressed not in armor but in plain clothes. Yet his eyes, cold, steady, froze Keller where he stood. The spy reached for his weapon. But before he could draw, the man spoke again. "You're not the first to come here, and you won't be the last." Keller's hands shook. "You knew?" "Of course," the man said softly. "We watched you from the moment you landed on Mars. Every step, every word, every false smile. You thought you were invisible, but you were never alone." Keller's throat tightened. He had been careful, meticulous. But the man's steady gaze told him the truth. The humans had allowed this discovery. "Why, let me see this." "Keller," whispered. The man stepped closer. "Because fear spreads faster than war. You'll carry this vision back to your masters. You'll tell them what you saw. And they'll wonder if this is what we build on Mars. What waits under Europa's? Ice? What sleeps beneath Earth's oceans?" Keller trembled. His mission, his triumph, it was all part of their design. The man leaned close, his voice a whisper. "Go home, Threx. Tell them what you saw. But remember this, you did not escape. We let you go." Then the lights in the cavern shifted. Dozens of human soldiers stepped from the shadows, surrounding Keller. Not attacking, just watching, waiting. Keller's recorder still blinked in his hand. He had his proof. But now he understood. It was proof the humans wanted him to carry. Slowly, he backed away. His heart raced, his pride shattered. He had seen power beyond anything in the galaxy, and he had seen the cruel patience of those who wielded it. When Keller finally returned to the council weeks later, his report was delivered in silence. He placed the recordings on the table. Images of the black dreadnoughts filled the chamber. The delegates gasped, some in awe, some in terror. Admiral Koraz stared at the footage, his mouth dry. "How many?" Keller's voice shook. "More than we can count," Luthen whispered, her feathers trembling. "And this is only Mars." Vex leaned forward, eyes narrow. "What did they say to you?" Keller swallowed hard. His voice dropped to a whisper, almost as if he feared the humans were still listening. "They said, 'They let us see.'" The chamber fell silent. Every delegate felt the same cold truth. Humanity had revealed only a fraction of its strength. Not by accident, by choice, and somewhere beyond the council's reach, the black dreadnoughts continued to awaken. The council chamber had never been so quiet. Not during wars, not during peace, not even during the fall of empires. Every delegate stared at the glowing images cast from Keller's recorder, the black dreadnoughts beneath Mars, their hulls glinting like blades in the dark. The silence broke at last when Counselor Vex slammed a claw against the table. "This is no fleet," he hissed. "This is a warning. The humans want us to see this." Counselor Luthen shook her feathered head. "And what do we do with such knowledge? If they already control fleets of this size, resistance is suicide." Admiral Koraz leaned forward, his face grim. "If we yield, we trade one master for another. Today they hide beneath Mars. Tomorrow they stand over our worlds." The chamber erupted, voices shouting, claws slamming, wings flaring. Some cried for war, others begged for caution. But beneath the noise, every delegate felt the same fear. Humanity had planned this. Every leak, every rumor, every glimpse of their power. All of it was controlled. The council called for silence. The chair, an elder from the luminary species, rose slowly. His voice trembled with age, but carried the weight of finality. "We must speak with them," he said. "Directly. No more whispers. No more spies. The humans must face this chamber." 2 weeks later, the council chamber was filled once more. But this time, a new presence stood in the center. A delegation of humans dotted their front was a woman named General Mara Calder, dressed in black uniform without rank insignia. Her hair was silver, her eyes sharp. She carried no weapon, yet every alien in the chamber felt the same chill. This was not a politician. This was a commander. The chair greeted her with the ritual words of diplomacy. "Humanity of soul, you stand before the council. Do you deny the fleet hidden on Mars?" Mara Calder did not bow. She did not hesitate. No. The chamber rippled with shock. Never before had a species admitted such a secret so openly. Admiral Koraz rose, voice harsh. "Then you stand guilty of deception. You lied to this council. Swore you had no fleet." Calder's voice cut through him like steel. "We never lied. You never asked." A murmur spread. She was right. The council had demanded registry of ships in orbit, not beneath soil or ice. The humans had followed every rule and bent each one like a blade. Counselor Vex narrowed his eyes. "What is the meaning of this? Why build such weapons in shadows?" Calder's gaze swept the chamber. "Because the galaxy is not safe. You know it. You fight each other while something worse stirs in the void. We saw it before you did, long before." Luthen leaned forward. "Worse? What do you speak of?" Calder stepped closer. Her words were slow, deliberate, the quiet signal. "The one you pretend does not exist." The chamber froze. Delegates exchanged terrified glances. The quiet signal was a myth, a pulse from deep space, older than their civilizations. It came once every century, faint but growing. Scholars called it noise. Admirals called it nothing. But secretly, in their darkest records, every species feared it. Calder's voice dropped lower. We cracked its code. It is not noise. It is a countdown. For a moment, no one breathed. Admiral Chorus spoke at last, his voice hoarse. A countdown to what? Calder's cold eyes met his, to their return. The room broke into chaos. Wings flaring, claws scraping, voices crying out. Some shouted she lied. Others demanded proof. Calder waited until silence returned. She raised a small device. With a touch, the chamber filled with an image. A world scorched black, cities shattered, bones turned to dust. Not human, not alien, something else. Something old. This was not our war, Calder said quietly. This is what came before. A galaxy cleansed by fire. And the signal tells us the destroyers are coming back. The counselors trembled. The image lingered, ruins of a civilization none could name, erased so completely it left no survivors. Built your fleets to fight each other, Calder continued. We built ours to survive what comes next, Vex snarled. And you expect us to believe this? That you alone hold truth, that your fleet is a gift, not a threat? Calder leaned forward. Her voice was almost a whisper. Believe, or don't. But when the signal ends and the sky burns, you will need our ships. You will need Earthborn. Silence. Every delegate felt the weight of off.